good evening, afternoon, night, morning, whenever you find it most convenient to listen to episode 2 of season 3 of The Bonfire. I, as always, am Allan, the pole with a goal. Joined with me are my lovely jubbly co-hosts, DJ.
Bonjour, comment ça va?
Ça va bien. Alex.
Hello, guten Tag.
As well as Matt.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Great to see you.
Yes, wherever you are listening to this, whether you're at home or in the car, as always, as I say, 9 and 3, hands on. So, let's get right into it. As you guys can probably hear, Tim is not with us. He's having a bit of technical difficulties, so he's unable to join us for this episode, but it's going to be a good episode nonetheless. So, let's get right into the preseason news. So the Fire have announced their full plan, literally in great detail, of what they are doing for the preseason. So as of yesterday of recording, so January 11th, they arrived for medicals and training for a few days at the International Sports Complex. Notice how I said, the International Sports Complex and not Bridgeview. So it's basically like the team is very much putting Bridgeview as their training place in the past. They will then travel to West Palm Beach on the 16th. They're there until the 25th. They're going to be facing Brazilian side Fortaleza on the 29th in the Orlando Cup, and Sporting Kansas
19th.
City on the 19th. I apologize. 19th, and then Kansas City on the 25th. Apparently, neither of those games are going to be open to the public. We don't know anything about broadcasting yet in the U.S. Apparently, the Fortaleza game is going to be on ESPN in Brazil. So we still have to know whether there's going to be a game broadcast. Maybe we'll get Tyler.
So all I'm going to say is I'm not going to tell you to do anything that you're not supposed to be doing in the United States, but it may rhyme with VP men. So,
Yeah, that's something that we're definitely not telling you guys to do.
Alex is now the typical YouTuber. He's been endorsed by Nord.
Or ExpressVPN or whatever. So who knows? Maybe we'll get Tyler Terrence on a picnic bench, just like the good old days of preseason a few years ago. Yeah. After those two games for preseason, they'll head back to Chicago. They're going to train at the new Endeavor Health Performance Center for a few days. Then they're going to go to the Coachella Valley tournament in California. On the 2nd, they're going to compete in the international Coachella Valley tournament against LAFC, Portland, San Jose, as well as the Galaxy. And then they'll come back immediately after their last game. And they're going to they will be bringing some Academy and Fire 2 players. Who are they, Alex?
So they are bringing, as of right now, there are 2 confirmed Fire 2/Academy players for the first portion of preseason in Florida. Those are 16-year-old center back Christopher Cups and 16-year-old forward Vitaly Hliut. I mean, I've mentioned them many times on the podcast before and on the website, but Christopher Cups, one of the top center back prospects in the country, currently committed to Notre Dame, so someone to keep an eye on. And Vitaly Hliut.
Ooh.
Oh, okay. Vitaly Hliut is a forward who has a lot of growing to do, but very technically gifted, and I think he has a very bright future in front of him as well. So someone you want to keep an eye on. And if they perform very well in this Florida portion, who knows? Maybe they get to stay for the California portion.
Nice to see that Cups is going to Chris Rolfe.
Yeah, Swan. I'm just hoping to see at least some sort of broadcast or videos, some form of highlights, so we'd be able to see like what's going on in the game. Because I think last season, I think there also wasn't any broadcast or whatever, and we just had to follow like the Twitter or X updates. So hopefully there will be some form of broadcast, even if it's like I said, Tyler Terrence on a picnic bench, because those were actually some pretty good preseason games, honestly.
Honestly,
They
it's
did.
2025. Why aren't these games just consistently streamed? It's so frustrating that we even have to have this conversation year after year. I mean, like 10 years ago, they did a better job of streaming these games than they do now. It should be a way they grow the game, and the fact that it's not is just annoying. It's like, it drives me crazy every single February and January.
Yeah, and they don't put them on
And if-
Apple TV either, which seems kind of pointless considering they have the capacity to easily do that. Even if it's not a pretty stream, I can at least
Oh,
have
literally.
a huddle cam or something.
And
Yeah,
they're not
no.
open to the public, which is stupid because if I'm a Fire fan and I want to go to a preseason game, why can I not go to that? I will pay to go to that game. Why am I not allowed to go to that game?
Yeah, just like I don't completely understand that logic, especially the streaming thing. I mean, people are already questioning like how long Apple TV is going to stay with MLS. Honestly, it was low key easier when it was what it was in the years before Apple TV, being that if you lived within 50 miles of Chicago, you could access the game either on WGN9 or you could access it in the Fire app. If you lived within 50 miles of Soldier Field, you would be able to watch the game on the Fire app. So, yeah. So, I digress. We'll see what happens.
Was it last year that Gaston hit that half field shot?
Twice.
I think he did that last year, and also I want to say in 2021 against Austin.
The
Yeah, he
fact
did.
that wasn't televised is one of the most upsetting things in recent Chicago Fire history. That's all I gotta say.
There's a drone cam of it.
There is.
There's also the Pineda last year scored a halfway goal too, if I remember correctly, or the year before.
That's a guy who scores bangers only, Pineda.
Lovely jubbly. So, yeah. So hopefully preseason goes off without a hitch. Knock on wood, no injuries or anything like that. So we can move on to the next portion of our of the episode, which is some staff news. So Triple G is filling out his coaching staff even more. So we have I think 3 more additions to the coaching staff, or actually more than that, I think 4. And I'm definitely going to butcher some of these names. Felipe Celicaya, who was recently manager for Portuguese side Sporting CP's B team. He was also the assistant with Ukrainian side Shakhtar Donetsk, as well as Portuguese side Victoria Guimarães and Chavez. There's also Tom Heinemann, who recently coached the U.S. under-15s alongside being assistant coach for some college sides. He also played for the Crew from 2011 to 13 and the Whitecaps in 2013. He won the 2017 NASL Soccer Bowl with the San Francisco Deltas, playing alongside Mickey Stevens. And Heinemann is he replaced Fire legend Gonzalez Segares at the U15 national team when he was there. There's also Hector Jimenez, who formally retired the day this was announced. He recently played with Austin FC, but he's been in MLS since pretty much 2011. Played with the Crew, the Galaxy, with Mickey Stevens at the Galaxy, where they won in 2011 and 2012, under Gregg Berhalter at Columbus.
I gotta say, my initial reaction to this is quite possibly the most random trio of assistant coaches I've ever seen. I mean, on one hand, you got a guy from Portugal who, to my understanding, has
Turkish.
Oh, he's British. Excuse me. Has no affiliation with Turkish, not British. Turkish for a Portuguese team. Obviously, it's Sporting CP. No affiliation with MLS. Sure, come on over. Then, of course, you got the U.S. Youth National Team coach, which is like a given. Obviously, Berhalter's been in that system for a while. And then you have quite possibly the most random MLS striker that you could think of who retired the day of the being assistant coach. That one truly doesn't make sense to me, but I'm excited to see what it looks like together because it's fun and spunky.
Well, Berhalter retired 2 players in this announcement because he retired Hector Jimenez because he had not officially announced his retirement yet. He was a free agent and he took the coaching job. He also officially retired Joe Bendick because he never actually retired. And then he gets unveiled as Zach Thornton's assistant goalkeeper coach. So Gregg Berhalter, with one snap of his fingers, retired 2 players from MLS.
Yeah. You also have the hiring of USMNT assistant manager Vincent Kevin as director of methodology and talent manager. Very interesting. And also to note, this is the first time where Josh Wolf has not been an assistant coach under Gregg Berhalter while Wolf has been available. Wolf and Gregg worked together at Columbus before they went to the USMNT, and Wolf ended up leaving to coach Austin back in 2020. So
I'm not going to speak on that though.
No. Yeah. But Triple G is building his staff. He's building his posse to coach this team, to push this team forward. And honestly, like you said, Matt, it's very interesting, like just that how from all the different corners of the soccer globe are we getting these assistant coaches and personnel.
I'm just glad that there's a former Fire represented on this new era and over Mikey Stevens, which I'm sure you guys have talked about before, but he's the one I'm most excited about. Dude was a bulldog when he played for us.
Well, there's 2. There's Stevens and Thornton still around, so that to me says a lot about Thornton, though, that he's really, if Berhalter immediately is like, we're not replacing him, that's a good sign.
Frank Klopas is still around too.
That's true. He has a more like a front office sort of position.
He's the vice president of football relations. He reports directly to Berhalter and just helps with various different tasks, miscellaneous.
He's a vibes guy.
He's the vibes guy.
He's 100% a mascot, and I'm here for it. If you told me that he was underneath Sparky, I would not be surprised. Dude is the best. I love that man.
It's not that he's underneath Sparky, it's that he metamorphosizes into Sparky every game.
Exactly what I was thinking. Well said, DJ.
Yes, thank you, DJ. That's incredible. So, So on top of changes in the coaching staff, there's also been some changes in the roster. First off, Tobias Salquist, he officially transferred to Danish side FC Nordsjælland.
You know what, Allan? We're just going to give you a pronunciation guide next show, I think.
Please do, because I don't speak Danish. I don't speak Portuguese, so I don't know how to. So I apologize for our Portuguese and Danish listeners. How do you pronounce it?
Nordsjælland?
I think it's Nordsjælland, yeah.
That's how it's usually said in English.
Nordsjælland? Okay. There in Denmark. And basically Salquist was just not able to settle with the club, usually because of injuries. So truly unfortunate, but we got to keep moving on.
I will say it's impressive that Salquist even played, considering I'm pretty sure everyone in the entire that saw the injury he had against Dax figured that if he was ever going to play again, it would not probably be till this season.
I mean, Salquist, look, for me, he was the Fire's best center back last season. I was very caught off guard by this move. I thought he was going to be at least the incumbent center back next to Jack Elliott if they didn't sign anyone. So I was very caught off guard when I saw this news. I know a lot of the fans didn't see it the same way I did. They thought he was too inconsistent, but I felt when he played, he was the team's best center back. He only had 1 or 2 bad moments, which the own goal against Inter Miami was one of them, but that's pretty much it. I thought he was pretty solid when he was healthy, and he was someone that the Fire wanted for 18 months, and they finally got. So then they were pursuing him longer than he ended up being with.
Yeah, I echo what Alex said. Toby leaving felt like it came out of left field. I don't think anyone who knows anything actually heard of Toby leaving, which is really upsetting. Not upsetting, but just interesting, actually, coming from the club. Like I said, this was a weird one. This is also a guy, similarly to Alex, I like to defend on social media. He was talented when he played. He didn't play a lot, but when he did, he was good. And obviously, there was some sort of, he just wasn't comfortable here in some capacity. And it's unfortunate, and I think it's most unfortunate because now we have kind of a void to fill on that back line. And, maybe they bring Wyatt back, but they definitely have to find a couple more pieces. Allan got excited about the concept of Wyatt coming back, but they got some work to do now, and Salquist was going to be a starter on this team next to Elliott, probably. So it's a bummer, but next.
Yeah, thank you. Next, essentially, it's especially in a kind of very MLS is a very fast-paced league when it comes to like players coming in and out. So, like you mentioned, it's a shame that it didn't work out, but we got to keep moving on, and especially with Triple G at the helm, we got to find someone to fill that void you mentioned. But I mean, hey, I am the president of the Wyatt Armsburg fan club, so I would love for him to come back at least as a sort of off the bench person. So the Fire have signed someone though, and that is 30-year-old Danish winger Philip Zinckernagel from Club Bruges KV as a TAM signing through 2028. He most recently played for Bodo Glimt in Norway on loan from Bruges, and he has 2 goals and an assist in 6 games at the Europa League. One of them was against Man United.
That is a definite last name that I love. That's all I have to say on it.
I wonder how many people are going to get his name on a jersey.
See, I might get his name on the jersey just for the bit, but I'm not going to pretend I knew anything about this guy until I heard his name come up as a transfer rumor one time. But my basis on if a player's a good signing or not is whether or not the club that they are from or the community that they have back home are upset to see them leave. And that definitely showed in the Bruges community and in the other communities that he played. And even Forest fans, when he played for them in 21, were like, this guy was a dog in our promotional campaign. So it's, once again, a guy I don't know a ton about, but you watch a lot of tape. You learn about him on social media. He's a versatile guy. Everyone thinks he'll play on the left wing, but he could play at the cam. He could play at the 9. He could play on the right. And it's a piece to be competitive and challenge the rest of the winger pool because they're definitely not done yet, as we all know, or probably all know. And I'm excited to see who this guy is. He's a dog. Scoring against Man United in the Europa League isn't for the week. So, although Man United sucks, but
I was about to say it's Man United.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about that. But Zinckernagel, legendary name. Let's hope he has some legendary talent.
Yes. Yeah, over to you.
To down something Matt said earlier, I think it was Matt. This also kind of came out of nowhere, Matt and Alex. This came out of nowhere. It's just like you open Twitter one day and all of a sudden it's like the Fire tweeted out the signing incoming thing, and that was that. There was no prerequisite, nothing from Belgium, nothing like saying Zinckernagel being pursued. It just came out of nowhere.
So this signing actually weirdly came up when I didn't have any access to the internet because it was like 9 a.m. I had gotten a new phone the day before, and I hadn't logged into Twitter yet, and I hadn't logged into the Gmail app yet. So I didn't get any notification of this happening until I actually set those up at like 9:30 or 10.
Wow, behind the beat. New player, very excited though. I'm pretty sure Triple G said that he wanted like a DP left winger, so we're still waiting on a few more people to come in, maybe even out the door. Possibly someone who could come in. Fabrizio Romano, the big man himself, reported that the Fire have made an offer for French winger Gaetan Perrin, currently at AJ. Alex, say the name. Auxerre, thank you. Currently has 5 goals and 4 assists in 16 Ligue 1 appearances this year, after having 7 goals and 10 assists in 38 last season. Would most likely be either like a high TAM player or a low DP player. What do you guys think the chances are of this actually coming through?
My educated guess would be they want him as a TAM player, and the reason they need to negotiate is to make sure that it can get down below the TAM threshold.
Yeah, once again, similar to Zinckernagel, I was actually having a lot of French conversations on Twitter. I don't know French, by the way. I use Google Translate with fans of the club back in France talking about Perrin, and they would all be super sad to see him go, which is typically a good indicator of talent. That being said, I think this community will be upset if he is this DP winger that everyone has been preaching about. Yes, he's had decent numbers. He's performed pretty well. He was essential for them in their promotional campaign. I think it was last season. But, there's a certain standard that I feel like people have engraved into their hands, and they're looking for 10, 15 million, like Panstill and Peck, the guys I always come to. And obviously he's not that. I think he'll be effective. And if we sign him, he'll be great. And he's going to, like Zinckernagel and like Marin, compete for that roster spot, or not the roster spot, the starting spot. But if he's a DP, people are not going to be thrilled. Hopefully he proves us wrong if that's the case.
So, yeah, Perron has had a very good season with Alger. They're overperforming as a newly promoted team. They're in 9th place in Ligue 1 right now. So he's been the key player to that. If someone were doing that performance, putting up those numbers, having that much quality in one of the other 4 of the top 5 leagues, I think it would be much more intriguing. But there is a gap between Serie A or La Liga and Ligue 1. So there's a gap between 4 and 5, no matter who you think 4 is. So yeah, I don't think this is a DP signing ideally. I think he's a good player. I think he would do well in MLS, but I don't think he'd take the league by storm.
This is a very Jimenez signing where you sign him for a good deal, then you have plenty of people who are happy. He's a DP, then it's a different story.
Either way, if he does end up coming, I hope he proves the haters wrong, if anything, us being the haters. So
I'm not a hater. I said he'd be a good signing.
Well, I mean, but in the sense of like he'll storm the league. He'll hear this podcast and he's like, "Nah, I'm taking over."
I don't think he necessarily speaks English.
Hey, if we're the reason he gets a fire lit underneath his soul and becomes like a golden boot type level player, I am more than happy with being the bad guy. That's all I'm gonna say. So, Perrin, you suck, dude. I guess that's what we have to start saying. Something like that.
The villain origin story.
Origin story.
No, 100% though, there's going to be those guys on Twitter and Reddit that if he's signed as a DP are going to absolutely hate it and write it off immediately. So, although it's probably more likely, like Alex said, that he's going to be TAM if he's a DP, hopefully he proves us wrong. And we've seen plenty of players in this league do that before.
Prove us wrong. So, one other piece of news when it comes to possible signings, this time with Fire 2 are likely signing defensive midfielder Sam Williams after a trade with Red Bulls.
I can confirm that's completely done, by the way.
Oh, it's completely done.
It hasn't been announced at the time of recording, but my guess is that it will be announced by the time this comes out.
Okay, so by the time this comes out, it should be announced. And the Fire are also reportedly signing 17-year-old Colombian midfielder Junior Montiel from Inter Palmira to the second team, as reported by our own big man, Alex. Why don't you expand upon that?
I did not report that one, but
never mind.
It was
reported
by a Colombian reporter, Pibe Sierra, who reported it initially. But he reported that he'd be coming to the Fire. I can say it's a second team signing. I think that should... I don't know when that'll get done because second team is all weird and they have weird ways of doing things. But that'll be someone to watch. I haven't seen a lot of him. Don't know a lot about him. He's coming from the Colombian second division right now. Some players who come into Fire 2 in weird moves like that work out. Chichao coming from Benin, Omari Glasgow coming from Guyana. Those work amazing. Juan Miguel Calle, if you don't closely follow Fire 2 to even know who he is, probably not. So we'll see what happens. Jury's out. Haven't seen him. We'll find out what happens over the course of the season if this gets over the line.
We have a really good history of Colombians with the first name Jean in some capacity. So
they're both coming from Envigado's academy, by the way.
Look at that. It's literally like, it doesn't matter who is the technical director at this club. They love Envigado, apparently. So if he's half as good as what Jean Duran is, let's put that sell-on fee at 35% so we could make a 30 million when he's gets sold for 100 million in 5 years.
Speaking of, like you mentioned, Matt, player's name John, he is likely now priced at an extremely high amount. high enough that the Fire would get a very decent amount of money from the sell-on clause when he gets sold from Aston Villa. Good amount of money. I'm pretty sure if I heard correctly, they valued him at like 100 million or something.
So if you're a Fire fan, you're going to be hoping, really, really, really hoping that he's not part of a swap deal, because you want Villa getting as much cash for this as possible. One of the rumors is that it would be Kolo Muani plus 60 million for John Duran to PSG. That would be not great for the Fire. For the Fire, you want as much cash as possible. 100 million, that would be amazing. I don't have the exact number of the percentage that the Fire will get, but it could realistically range anywhere between 10 and 25, 30% on the very, very high end. And look, if it's the high end of that percentage range and it's 100 million or more, then we're talking about the biggest transfer in MLS history. Biggest transfer fee in MLS history.
I would call that cash Antoine Griezmann money. That's what I would call. Take everything, throw it all at Mr. Antoine. Bring him to Chicago. Thank you, Jean Duran.
I was about to say, like, someone contact Derek Rose, tell him to bring tell him to bring Griezmann over here. So yeah.
I love Derek Rose.
I like Derek Rose, yes. So moving on to our last little portion. International call-ups. Brian Gutierrez has been called up to the US January camp. It's his first call-up to the senior team. And, it's very important for him, to impress and really just prove himself. And I think it was the MIR97 account when the US social media was like, who do you want to see? And we were like, Brian Gutierrez, and they gave us Brian. So that was great to see.
You're welcome, Matt.
It was great to see Brian in a US kit. So
yeah, Guti gets his first call up. This is long overdue. He should have got this 2 years ago. He should have got this in January 2023. He didn't. He should have got it in January 2024. He didn't. Here we are. He's finally in the USMNT. Thank you, Mauricio Pochettino, for finally making the right decision there. I think there were 2 Fire players omitted who should have been on this roster. I'm going to make that very, very clear. Kellen Acosta should be on this roster, even if he had a bad season. Look at the midfield. There are 4 midfielders listed on this U.S. men's national team roster. Like, 1 is a 6. And don't tell me it's because he's too old, because Kellen Acosta is 28. You've got Tim Ream. You've got Walker Zimmerman. You've got Shaq Moore on this roster. You've got Zach Steffen on this roster. Why on earth is Kellen Acosta not there? It's completely beyond me. He should be. He should be getting 1 or 2 of these games. Whatever. Chris Brady should also be there. I'm very, very clear he should be the U.S. men's national team's 3rd or 4th choice goalkeeper in the depth chart. He's not. He's never been called up to the senior team. He's only been called up to the U23s a handful of times.
Who were the other goalkeepers, Alex, that made the roster?
So Zach Steffen is there, like I said before. Matt Freese is there, which is well deserved, in my opinion. You have Patrick Schulte, which is everybody knows.
Controversial.
Who is the most overrated goalkeeper in U.S. soccer. And then you have Drake Callender, who is a decent goalkeeper, but he hasn't gotten any better in the last 2 years. He's fine. He's all right. Chris Brady has much more upside. It doesn't make any sense to have him there. In my humble opinion, it should be Matt Freese, Chris Brady, and Patrick Schulte as the 3rd goalie.
Yeah, 100%. Brady probably should have gotten a shot, but I think the whole community's pretty happy for Guti for finally getting into that roster, into that camp, and hopefully making a splash and doing some damage in comparison to other MLS guys. And I think, that camp's obviously big for him, and this season is probably bigger than that camp is for him. This is really the season where we're going to need him to explode, and even if we bring in another DP10 or something like that, Guti's going to still be in the mix. So overall, it's been a good start to 2025 for Mr. Guti, and
it's not going to be a DP10. Guti is the 10.
Guti is the 10. Okay, so let me rephrase. Guti's going to play an even bigger part on our roster in 2025 and is really going to need to take that next step, because the discourse is happening on Twitter, whether or not you agree with it about Guti, and It's time for him to shine. Starting off with the U.S. call-up, bring it on over, that positive momentum, and kick some butt going into the season next month.
This is Brian Gutierrez's time. Gregg Berhalter is a perfect manager for him. I've made this opinion very clear since the day Berhalter was hired. This is going to be his time. And this national team call-up is going to help his confidence a lot. And I think he's going to be in this pool from here on out. He just needs to seize this opportunity in January camp. I really hope he does under Maurizio Pochettino, who is one of the best coaches in the world. And
he's magic, you know.
Look, Guti's really a 10, but the national team is really weak on the wings. There's an opportunity there. And the way Pochettino has been playing, the wingers aren't direct vertical wingers. It's a role that Guti can play on the right side or the left. So keep an eye out. This is a big opportunity. Berhalter's excited for it. I spoke to him 2 days ago. So yeah, this is exciting. Keep an eye out for this. And the U.S. plays on, I believe, the 18th against Costa Rica and the 22nd against Venezuela.
Maurizio Pochettino, he's magic, you know. Yeah, I'm super glad for Guti, and honestly, it's his blood. It's the season where he glows up even more so than he has in previous years. Sergio Ariel, he was called up to the US U20s. We don't still really know what his role is when it comes to, within the Fire. He's hoping to impress ahead of the U20 World Cup that's in Chile this fall. And fun fact, the U20s are coached by former Fire assistant Marko Mitrovic.
Yeah, he was also the Olympic coach. Sergio is someone I believe in a lot. I think he's a talented player. I think personally, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he finds new life under Berhalter, especially with the complete lack of midfielders on the roster right now going into preseason. But I think the Fire called up the US called up the wrong Fire homegrown. I thought it should have been Dylan Borso getting a look in this squad. I think he really can be helpful to the U20s going into the fall. But no, Sergio, this is a good opportunity for him. I don't think he's going to make the final U20 World Cup roster. I'd be a bit surprised if he did, given the amount of talent the U.S. has in that position. The likes of Benjamin Kremoski, who are not in this U20 camp, are probably going to be the leaders in the World Cup when that comes around. But no, it's cool. Does anyone else have anything else to say about Sergio? Because there's one other call-up I want to mention.
Go for it.
Yeah. Christopher Cupps, according to Gary Lewis, who is the Academy Technical Director, is going to be confirmed called up to the U17 World Cup qualifiers next month, and he's expected to captain it. According to Gary Lewis.
Good for him.
So that's exciting. He's very good. He's the future.
Future. Sorry. Bright future for a lot of our Fire players right now. Just a bright future that we kind of need right now in the city because, first of all, it's cold and it's kind of gray. It just snowed a lot. So, we definitely need some sunshine and a bit of a bright spot in the future when it comes to, the sporting aspect. So, yeah. So, last but not least, just to sort of wrap this episode up in a nice, pretty red bow, are we feeling ahead of maybe not the season overall, but just preseason? Like as of right now, how are we feeling?
There is definitely work to do, but the pieces are there to at least get the work done, if not fully this season, the next season.
I think the Fire will be very happy with what they've accomplished right now. They haven't set out every single goal that they set out at the start of preseason, but nobody in the league has. I spoke to Berhalter about this on Friday. He said, look, obviously we'd like things to be ready overnight. That's just not the reality. And they're going to keep looking. They have 2 open DP slots and up to 2 under 22 initiative slots. So they're going to be busy these next couple of weeks. And there's 6 weeks until the season starts. Plenty of time. And they're going to be busy on the market. That's 6 open roster slots to fill. They're going to get to work.
Yeah, and I think this is a annual reminder. Well, not an annual reminder, but every time we get a new staff in, people are always expecting a finished roster within 6 months, which isn't the reality of the transfer market. It isn't the reality of the business. And that being said, I think what they've done so far is fun. They're signing some guys from in the league, like Jack Elliott. They're going over to Europe and signing. They're clearly still in the systems down in South America, and of course, they're signing some homegrowns as well. So they're filling all the buckets. It's great to see that they're actually utilizing MLS players like Heights didn't typically do outside of like Shabilko and a few other people. And I'm excited to see what he does. Do I expect, the 2 DP spots and 6 roster spots to be filled by opening day? No, it's not realistic. And if you expect that, don't expect that. That's all I really have to say. But Zinckernagel is a fun one. Dylan Borso is a fun one. I know Alex was happy about that. And I look forward to seeing what we could do for opening day and what we could do heading into the summer to be competitive and hopefully make the playoffs.
I will say, too, speaking on that, it is very clear Mansueto has given Berhalter the go-ahead to basically craft the team however he wants. Like, you have everything is now through Berhalter, so this is not going to be a situation similar to Ezra or Wiki where if Berhalter doesn't do well in the first season and a half, then he's out. You can tell this is going to be a long-term investment.
Yeah, I think it was Tim or someone on the last episode that said that on average you need at least 3 transfer windows to like revamp a squad to however the manager wants it. So I mean, this is just number one. Then you have the summer window where you're really able to do some deals with especially like European clubs, and then you'll have the next off season. So this is year one once again. So just lot to look forward to, even right before, even after the season opener. So we mentioned the 6 roster spots. Maybe where do the team need to focus the most in terms of the roster spot? Like what position?
Central midfield. They right now just have Kellen Acosta and Federico Navarro, essentially, for all intents and purposes. Yeah, there's Pineda, there's Sergio, there's Dylan Borso. Some of those guys aren't really center mids for the double pivot, and some of those guys aren't guys you're really going to want to count on to play more than 10 minutes in a game in that position. So they're going to sign at least one, and they're going to sign at least one. They're probably going to sign more than one. So stay tuned for that. But that's the priority. They need to get players. The wingers, they want to improve on them, but they're serviceable right now with Guti, who's a 10, Amara and Mueller, and Zinckernagel.
Yeah, and then you definitely need to bring in a right back. I don't think anyone's going to be happy if Dean is starting or Suke starting. Who knows what's going on with Mr. Arnaud anyways. And like we mentioned earlier, another center back, whether that be Wyatt or a couple more center backs, honestly, whether that be Wyatt or whoever they bring in. So there's definitely work to do on all 3 lines. The only spot that is really comfortably staffed right now is goalkeeper, and like striker we're feeling okay, except Barlow as a backup I know isn't ideal for many, but work to do. I'd say center mid's probably most priority. Get that DP winger, get a right back, and we're like looking okay.
I think it's also worth saying that the Fire do just in general kind of need better depth, especially along the back line. But it also wouldn't shock me if there's movements like to make certain players go into other positions. It would, for example, one thing I actually was talking with Tim about, it would not shock me if the Fire get another winger, Mueller becomes a striker. That would not shock me.
I don't see that happening, but maybe that's the only way Mueller has a role this season. I mean, Mueller's he's pretty much been told they're going to sign a DP winger, and he's going to be at least 4th or 5th on the depth chart there. So
rest in peace.
Maybe he leaves, maybe he goes to another club, or maybe he reinvents himself and finds a role as a backup striker. Who knows? But he does definitely need to reinvent his game, given that the injuries have permanently altered what his strengths and weaknesses are.
Unfortunate, truly. I really was excited when Mueller came here, but that injury had definitely changed.
I mean, he was good his first 12 months.
Yeah.
He was really, really good his first season, arguably a top 3 player on the Fire. And then when he started the 2023 season, he started the season really, really well too. And then he had that injury that kept him out the second half of the season. And he didn't score a single goal in 2024. He might have had 1 assist. Yeah, 1 assist. That's it. Against St. Louis. So there's that.
All right. So, essentially, one last question is, what do we want to see next from the team? Like, period. Like, and what still needs to be done, honestly, ahead of this season? What do we want to see?
Show me the training facility. I want to see the training facility so bad.
True.
That's it. Just show me it. It's cool.
I wish they would give us a date already.
I really, really hope that the training facility is open when I'm here at the end of February, the day before the season opener. Like, I really hope that they're training in the training facility before the season starts. You know?
I know. Gregg mentioned back in one of the town hall meetings, or like the specific one for the supporters, that he wants open trainings to be a thing. He said he wants at least, like, I think 3 or something per season where fans can come. And I know one of the season ticket benefits for, I think, the diehard Fire fan for the Fire 365, what it's called, is that when the training facility does open, they'll let those fans come in to give it a tour, as well as see an open practice. I can't remember. I remember hearing January, but I don't think we've heard anything in terms of when they're going to be opening it officially.
I don't have an official date right now.
Yeah,
it was supposed to be for start of preseason, but preseason starts tomorrow, and they're not training.
Yeah, and they're training somewhere else, as we mentioned. I think the International Sporting Complex. So,
yep.
so goodbye, Mount Bergu. But yeah,
Fire 2.
Oh, that's true, Fire 2. But in terms of the first team being there, yeah.
The Fire and Bergu currently have an agreement, and that's it. They just have the agreement. We agree with this. After this, we don't want anything to do with each other anymore.
Essentially. So, can't wait for that training facility, and I just honestly can't wait to see what happens. I mean, I know pretty much, I think I say this almost every episode, and I mention it, the whole stadium situation, because I'm pretty sure the Fire are trying to push for having the stadium in the city. We talk about the 78 developmental area, which I was actually recently on New Year's Day. Me and my friend, we went on the Sears Tower sky deck, and I saw the little area, and I was like, man, a stadium there would be really neat, especially if it was a soccer specific stadium. So yeah, I'm hoping to see maybe some news about that. But of course, in terms of what do we want to see, we want to see some W's. We want to see some great goals. There's a few things to play for, whether it's the MLS, play for the league, or play for the US Open Cup. There's, of course, the Brimstone Cup is up for grabs this season since we're playing against FC Dallas. So we want to see some of that. We want to see some of that, gentlemen. All right. Anything else for our ladies, gentlemen, and they, thems in red of the Fire?
Yes.
Go for it, Alex.
1, read my article speaking to Gregg, which was 2 days ago. 2, read my article speaking to Jurgen Klinsmann, which was yesterday. And somehow in 18 hours is the 3rd most viewed article on our website. How is that possible? I don't know, but it is.
Shout out Mumbai. That's how it's possible. India is like taking over MIR, by the way. We don't know why.
This is awesome. Shout out
number
Mumbai.
3, check out my article on US soccer, because I spoke to Matt Crocker, JT Batson, Sidney Parlow-Cohn, Tony Lepore, Emma Hayes, and others. Well, I didn't speak to Emma Hayes, but I listened to Emma Hayes. So just read that article. It's very long, but these are all from the United Soccer Coaches Convention of the weekend, where Men in Red 97 was present, making our presence known, speaking with very, very many people. And by we, I mean me. But yes,
Well, you represent
check
us.
it out, because it was a very fun weekend. I got some great articles out of it. I think people on social media are enjoying them too. So check out all 3 and let me know what you think on social media. And you say something? Oh,
go ahead,
last
Alex.
thing I'm going to say that before the season, I'm going to make sure that every participant on the Men in Red 97 podcast gets a full pronunciation guide for Fire player, because
Thank
my
you.
ears are bleeding.
Thank you.
I will respectfully decline because I think my whole bit is not knowing how to pronounce things, which is really fun. But in case Alex didn't say it, make sure you go read his articles on mir97.com. A lot of good content there. And this is actually the last podcast before the preseason starts. So things are going to really start kicking off in Fireland. And I'm excited to start this new era with not only these incredible hosts, Allan, DJ, Alex, Tim, everyone else, but all of you listening. So shout out you. You guys are awesome.
Truly, we wouldn't have any of this if it weren't for our listeners, our readers, our supporters, you guys, the ladies, the gentlemen, the they thems of the Fire and in Red. So thank you very much. And I'll just say it for a third time. Go on meninred97.com, as well as our social medias, MIR97 or Men in Red 97. Check out the posts, check out the articles, and of course, check out the other podcast episodes if you haven't already, because those are also really good. I'm pretty sure that's it. Anyone else have any last words of wisdom for our listeners before we head off for preseason?
It actually is now second most viewed article on the website since we started recording.
Neat. This is fantastic news.
Thank you, Indians.
One other thing before we sign off, Allan, I just wanted to share that some of us at MIR are currently in the design production of our 2025 Men in Red 97 scarf. There'll be more information coming down the line, probably towards the end of the month. Hopefully by next episode, we have a little bit more information, but I just wanted to share that it's something that we are going to continue doing for a second year, producing a scarf at the beginning of the year. And it's going to be really, really fun. And if you have any thoughts on what it should say, we're still brainstorming. Let us know on Twitter, DM us. We'd love to hear from you. Nothing's finalized. So yeah, look out for it. It's going to be sweet. Merch, more merch coming soon.
We love merch.
Hopefully we'll have a merch store open so we can be like, go check out meninred97.com/merch. So
coming soon.
A lot of things to look forward to, not only in preseason and this upcoming season for the Fire, but also for Men in Red 97. So ladies and gentlemen and they, them, of the Fire and Red, I, as always, have been Allan the Pole with a Goal, joined by DJ, Matt, and Alex. Come on, you Men in Red.